This podcast is for general informational educational purposes only and is not to be considered medical advice for any particular patient. Clinicians must rely on their own informed clinical judgments when making recommendations for their patients.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of PHM from Pittsburgh. I am still your host, Dr. Tony Tarchichi. As you all know, I'm a med-peds trained pediatric hospitalist, typically at UPMC Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, but we are coming to you on location today. We do that once in a while at the PHM National Conference here in wonderful Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am here with our usual What I Learned at PHM episodes, and I am happy and just overjoyed to be joined with our social media committee for the conference and our planning committee for the conference. I thought it would be fun to get us together and talk about what we enjoyed so far from the conference and what sessions we liked. So as you all know, these are not CME episodes, so I apologize if you're looking for CME, but these are fun episodes to hear about what we're doing at our national conference. So you all know who I am. So we are going to go around the room and everyone's going to introduce themselves first, and then we're going to start talking about what we liked so far at the national conference, what sessions we've enjoyed, and what you can look forward to if you come to next year's. So I'm going to pass the microphone to my left.
Hello, everyone. I'm Maha Kaissi. I am an assistant professor of pediatrics at McGovern Medical School at UT Health Houston in Houston, Texas. I am one of the social media co-chairs this year for the PHM conference.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chrissy Hrach. I am on the planning committee this year and very excited about that. And I am a pediatric hospitalist, professor of pediatrics at Washington University at St. Louis Children's Hospital, and excited to be here today.
Hi there. I am Lana Ismail. I'm a peds hospitalist at Children's National Medical Center in Washington, D.C. and some of the community sites. I'm on the planning committee and one of the co-chairs this year and really excited about the program we have.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nancy Chen. I am a clinical associate professor at the University of Arizona in Tucson, Arizona, and I am also one of this year's planning committee co-chairs and really excited to kind of talk about our content.
Greetings. I'm Tamara Gale. I am also a hospitalist at Children's National in Washington, D.C., and assistant professor of pediatrics through GW. Also on the planning committee, and excited to chat and be in the room with these amazing folks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria LeBlanc. I am a first-year PHM fellow at Helen DeVos Children's Hospital in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and also one of the social media co-chairs. Looking forward to chatting with everyone today.
Hey, y'all. I'm Patricia Tran. I am a pediatric hospitalist at the University of Illinois College of Medicine in Peoria. I am the last of our social media co-chairs who is here today. And like everyone has already said, super looking forward to talking about some of the great content that we've already experienced and that we're looking forward to experiencing as the conference moves forward.
All right, so let's talk about what we liked so far. What has been your favorite event, workshop, plenary, or mini plenary, whatever you want to talk about. And since Maha and I are old good friends, I'm going to pass the microphone to her first.
All right. The plenaries, of course, have been amazing this year, as I'm sure many people will talk about in this session. So I wanted to highlight one of the workshops I went to yesterday, given by some of our colleagues at Seattle Children's and Connecticut Children's about disclosing functional diagnoses and somatic syndrome disorder to families and using like a cheat sheet sort of framework of how to disclose that, which I thought was a great teaching tool to use with our learners, because I feel like those are very challenging diagnoses for all of us, but especially as new trainees when you don't know how to have those difficult conversations with families.
Wonderful. This is Chrissy again. I agree. The plenaries have been absolutely amazing. Have loved both of those so far. But I want to highlight, I went to clinical quick hits yesterday and went to 3 of them in a row. But my first 2 were amazing. It was about how to discharge more efficiently and how do you discharge before noon, which we all hear that we should do in all of our hospitals. It was a great talk and a good review of literature. And also the one on hypothermic infants was really good yesterday as well, about the review of the literature on our small babies or young babies who come in hypothermic. So great talks.
Well, since they've been referenced a couple times, at least I'll touch on one of the plenaries we just came out of, which was Annie Andrews' plenary. It was incredibly inspiring. This was actually my first time hearing her speak, and it was extremely uplifting. And I think one of my favorite parts about her talk was really just, her breaking down and demystifying the fact that you don't have to be this like natural born outgoing advocate. You can take a tiny step after a tiny step that will lead you somewhere where you can find yourself really advocating for kids or speaking to your passion. So I just really found that empowering, and she gave us the next step, all of us a mission. So I love that.
And the wonderful part about Annie is she was on the PHM. I was with her when she was on the PHM planning committee.
Right.
I mean, we planned the conference, and then all of a sudden she went on to this wonderful new career. So it was just fascinating to see. Absolutely fascinating.
Speaking about Annie's time on the planning committee, her virtual conference that she planned was actually the first PHM that I attended. And I honestly wouldn't be sitting here if it weren't for the incredible job that she and the rest of the planning committee did that year, feeding not only my intellectual needs for, caring for hospitalized children, but also feeding my soul in a time when Maha's nodding at me because we were the fellow cohort that did our entire fellowship virtually, and we were starved for connection. And that conference is honestly the reason that I'm sitting here as a social media co-chair, because it was virtual. And so I got even more engaged on Twitter back then. And honestly, that is the reason that I'm sitting here.
The joys of remembering COVID.
Yeah, I think that ties in nicely with like I say this every year, but this is like my main highlight of coming to PHM is seeing everyone and connecting with everyone again and getting like revved up and pumped up about like in bringing that enthusiasm back to where we are. And so my first PHM was in 2014. I was a fellow as well. It was in Orlando, and it was at that PHM when I was like, one day I want to run this. And so it's amazing to be here now 10 years later and watching it all play out and seeing everyone and connecting with like new friends and old friends. So it's been amazing.
Hi, everyone. Tamara again. So I'm the director of advocacy and policy in our division. So I'm always really excited to get content I can bring back to that. So I went to a session yesterday on health literacy, and I thought that it was really interesting because it focused on sort of our personal how we can personally help patients, which is, things like teach back that we're used to, making sure families are given materials that are going to be reader friendly for all educational backgrounds. But it also sort of took it a step farther, talking about on an organizational level, what the commitment should be to health literacy and how it's actually going to be something JCAHO is looking for. We're all very big fans, I know, of JCAHO visits, but thinking about on a hospital level, wayfinding, signage, just, what is your hospital doing to really make sure patients and families are able to understand things, find their way, sort of enhance their hospital experience. And then we also talked about, in the digital age, we assume sort of all of our patients, well, we don't, right? Because we are, more open, but sometimes we forget that a lot of our patients and families aren't as digitally savvy as we might assume. So thinking about, some families, when you walk in, they're like, oh, I already know the CBC or the lab work because I can pull up my child's, record right here. And other families, they're not able to sort of access it. And how do we sort of bridge that divide? And we were all laughing just thinking about our own families. And, sometimes our parents or other family members are struggling in the same ways, or sometimes they are a little more apt than we think they are. So just sort of thinking about now and in the EMR being shared so openly with families, how we can meet them where they are for some, and then for others, trying to help them to get there as well too. So
So first, I just wanted to say that this is my first time being at a PHM conference. So it's been really cool seeing all the excitement and the energy that goes into everything. And being a member of the social media committee too has been a good way to get connected with everyone as well. But I really enjoyed the hypothermia infant talk yesterday as well. I actually had a patient like last week on service with hypothermia. So it was really interesting to see that, we need to think about more than just sepsis when we see our young infants with the low temps. So learning a lot, and I'm excited to continue meeting more people during this time.
So we have talked a lot about the plenaries, but we've only mentioned one specifically. I wanted to shout out our opening plenary speaker, Dr. Tiffany Johnson, for doing an amazing job opening the conference. She was such a dynamic speaker. She really brought the energy in the room to incredible levels and was both very motivating and very informative. I learned a lot about the APA, actually. And being the one society that I'm not a member of, I'm now reconsidering the use of my CME funds. Maybe I should join the APA and take advantage of some of these opportunities that are available at every stage in my career.
So I will tell you, one of the ones that was not mentioned that I really loved was The Power of Stories, an intersection of advocacy and narrative medicine. Now, those were personal stories told by people, so I won't go into any detail, but it was a wonderful and moving session to be at, and I really appreciate the people put that together. It's one of my favorite things I've enjoyed. And as usual, the Pittsburgh contingency last night found karaoke in Minneapolis. This is a normal experience we have. It was a local place, and we befriended the community, and we all sang, and they tried to get me to sing Spice Girls, which if you're listening, they hit high notes, and if you can hear my voice, that wouldn't go well. So I did not sing that one. But
Spice Girls are my favorite karaoke songs to sing.
I feel like people would sing along, but I would kill it. Is there anything anyone is really looking forward to that's coming up?
I'm very excited for some of the content that's happening today. I think really looking forward to our virtual session on measles with someone from the CDC who's going to call in and tell us a little bit about what's going on currently in the nation. So that's always fun. And then also, these are all late breaking topics. The other one is the workforce panel. I'm excited to hear what discussion's going to happen on that. We have some amazing panelists and some really, and just looking at some of their slides in preparation for that, I think it's going to be a really good discussion. So I'm also really excited for tomorrow's plenary, where we're bringing in a NASA astronaut, my friend, Lieutenant Colonel Jasmine McBelly, to talk about her long journey to making it into space, and a little bit and hoping people can kind of draw parallels to their own careers, wherever they're at, about what a long career journey looks like. So I think we have a lot of good stuff lined up in the next 24, 48 hours.
I am also excited about all of those, but one of the talks I look forward to the most every year is the top 10, which is tomorrow afternoon. It's going to be great. I don't know what the top 10 articles are going to be, but it's always very exciting. And I think I always learn a ton from that session.
I'm really excited this afternoon to go to the AAP clinical report on the management of ankylosing and effective breastfeeding. As someone who also does some newborn hospitalist work, I'm always like, yes, you should be worried, but no, you shouldn't be that worried. And it's always great to have something more objective to share with them. So I'm excited to learn more.
To piggyback on that, I'd be remiss if I didn't say how excited I am that there's a lot of newborn content in this PHM. Between the ankylosing, there are a few talks on torch infections, especially the rise of congenital syphilis. I think we had a few submissions about that, so I think people have really got their finger on the pulse that there are a bunch of newborn hospitalists or people doing newborn work out there, and there's a lot to be said about it during this conference. So looking really forward to that.
As someone who grew up with the mouse in her hand, I am firmly in the millennial generation. I was really excited to see how much content there is on generative AI, including our plenary speaker on Sunday, Dr. Anthony Chang, who is going to be talking about the use of AI in medicine. There's also a session today using ChatGPT as a medical educator. So seeing how new technologies can be used in a multitude of ways, both in clinical and in educational spaces, is really interesting. And then as you know, social media branding is kind of my thing. So I was excited to see that there was a talk yesterday that I unfortunately was unable to attend, but I heard rave reviews about on personal branding. And another talk on how to improve the design of your slides, which as someone who has sat through many a presentation with a blue background and yellow text that is a holdover from the days when slides were actual physical slides, I was very happy to see that is getting some traction in our world.
I was just going to say, I think every year that I come to PHM, I'm always like, this has been the best year of content yet. And every year, like, the hospitalists just really step it up. And, you know, the diversity of the topics, the reach of like incorporating AI, like Patty was saying, and really branching out to a lot of different spheres, because as hospitalists, obviously we touch a lot of spheres, and education and research and quality improvement. So it's always really exciting to come to this conference, and I always just leave so inspired and ready to start something new and bring it back to my trainees. So very excited to always be here.
Excitement is always something you get at this conference. And I will say I'm looking forward to the day when AI replaces me on the podcast and is running this whole thing. So that day is coming. And it'll probably do a better job. Well, this is any final words before we? This is a quick episode. So if you're not at this conference, we're having a wonderful time. And if you're not here, thank you for being at the home institutions, working and taking care of the children, so we can be here. And then maybe next year you'll come. And hopefully everyone's enjoying themselves and staying cool in the terrible heat. And otherwise, thank you to the planning committee and our social media committee for being here and planning this conference. It's a wonderful session. Every year, it's a tremendous amount of work. So we really, really appreciate it. And to those of you at home, have a great rest of your day. And thank you all. Time for our acknowledgments. I want to thank our special guest again. I really do appreciate your time. I want to, as always, thank the UPMC Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, and specifically the Paul C. Gaffney Division of Pediatric Hospital Medicine for continuing to support the podcast. I want to take the time to remind our listeners that there is CME associated with most of our podcast episodes, courtesy of the University of Pittsburgh. So thank you, University of Pittsburgh. Please just click on the link at the bottom of the podcast, takes you to a web page, create a free username and password, answer some questions that I write that are not hard. And that's it. You get AMA Category 1 CME credit. I want to, as always, thank and acknowledge Dr. Megan Keene-Tarchichi, who helps me with everything. But I really want to thank you all who are listening. Thank you for letting me come into your earbuds or your car, wherever it is you are. I really appreciate the fact that you do that. If there's anything you want to hear or think we can cover better, any comments, suggestions, compliments, whatever you want to do, again, as always, please feel free to email me at tony.tarchichi, tarchichi, @chp.edu. Thank you again, everybody. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you next time.